So when we talk about MAGOS and why are we reinventing radars, let's dive a little bit deeper into it. So who is MAGOS? About MAGOS. MAGOS was founded 12 years ago by three individuals that were really passionate about taking radar technology and bringing it into the security industry. It started in 2008, and for the first couple of years, it really focused on getting those radars into the market, developing them, and selling mostly into the defense industry. So let's talk about it, and let's talk a little bit about MAGOS. We have one focus in life, which is basically bringing high-end radar technology into our security market. We're focused on user experience and customer feedback. We understand that in our industry, in the security industry, simplicity is key. Keep it simple is our motto and how we do things. We are integrated to a lot of the video management systems and the PTZ cameras. And most importantly, we're quick and agile. So we like working with customers that come to us with opportunities and some challenges that they're facing. And our idea is always, how do we fix that? How do we work with them to make their experience better? Been in business, very deep experience, 12 years of experience in the business. However, only in 2015 we were able to declassify the technology and start bringing it into the market. 2018 is really when we started commercial sales, and since then we've been running around with installations now in over 30 countries. I'm now sitting here in our MAGOS office in Kearney, New Jersey, which from here we serve all of the Americas basically. And again, very excited to be here today with you guys. So let's talk about the MAGOS solution. So the radar itself is a very, very simple solid state hardware device. The nice thing about it, CE, FCC approved, ground-based radar, very small form factor, and we always say it's a very small device that packs a very, very big punch, right? So it's really cool. Then we have our software package that allows us very easy integration into the other system in a command center. We understand that the radar is one component of the security apparatus, and as a result, we have developed a very, very robust software that makes it very easy for guards and operators to operate the software, to use the software, and most importantly, make educated decision based on radar detection and the software. So to show you how simple the system is, I'll show you a clip right now of our integration with one of the leading VMS manufacturers, which is Avigilon. So what we see here, this is on the left, this is our MAS software integrated into the Avigilon GUI. We can see that the radar that is looking north here has this coverage that is pretty robust. It's about 500 meters, about 1,700 feet. But then we created some zones inside that area where we want to get alarms when something happens. So now, when we look at that and any movement that we have in that area, we'll see the tracks, and the PTZ will automatically, not based on preset, but based on exact location and position of the target, will now start following the target. We also have a radar looking to the south here, and as we can see here, anything that is basically detected by the radar that is looking south will also give us an event and give us an alarm. So again, this is just one integration to one of the parts, as I said, with many others. This happens to be an integration with Exact, another very common VMS that is being used in the market today. Same idea. If somebody is walking and getting detected, we like to say we make PTZ cameras relevant again, as opposed to them just moving and doing just presets or just scanning an area. We are now do educated scanning and really follow the targets and track and salute to queue when something happens. So that, and we can see here with the PTZ just zoomed on an individual that was walking, as opposed to just being in the wrong place at the right time, where is very common for PTZ cameras. So a lot of the time when I present radars, people say, why radars? What, we have so many technologies in the industry right now. Why are you bringing radars? Why complicate our life in another technology? So what are our advantages over existing technologies? First of all, one of the biggest thing, and I've been in this industry now to close to 20 years, and it's always been weather is always a factor when you use video analytics, when you use fans, shakers, all of those things. Radars don't care, so we work in all the condition, best in class. PTZ tracking, again, a big feature that has been really helping us to make those PTZ, those expensive investment that you guys have around your perimeter, that's most of the time just doing tours or just doing guessing. The integration to the VMS, the wide area coverage. So if we look at the radar, when you put one radar on a pole or on a building, it now looks at 120 degrees for the duration of where it's actually looking at. If we start looking at other cameras in the market today, if we go as deep as 1700 feet, some cameras will have a field of view of about 5 degrees. So really significant wide area coverage. It's a very cost-effective solid state device, no moving parts, very low power consumption, and it's easy to install and maintain. I have a short clip here that really highlights those advantages and looks at the traditional approach versus the conventional detection where you have a lot of fixed cameras around the perimeter, a lot of infrastructure to install, a lot of cost of infrastructure to put in, and very narrow field of view. With MAGOS, we can strategically locate radars and PTZs in the most convenient location that we have. They don't need to be together. And with that now, we're able to give you that really strong detection capabilities with visual capabilities of getting the PTZ to track the target when it needs to track the target. So really again, significant cost savings over the traditional approach, specifically when we start talking about infrastructure. As I said at the beginning, we're now in over 30 countries and we have a global footprint, and we're seeing a lot of success in specific vertical market. So one of the markets we do very well in is obviously ports, large geography, water, very challenging environment a lot of the time, critical infrastructure, anything from electric substations, water sites, dams. We do well in farms in specific geographies. Logistics and data centers is a big market for us, and I'll show some case studies and examples later. Car lots, oil and gas, and as I said, electric utilities, which is one of the big ones. So when we start looking at some of the applications, and this is actually one of the ports where we installed over 20 radars. We're talking about radar technology given perimeter security in those verticals, and you'll see why those advantages come to light. Those are the radars, so we have the SR250 and the SR500 with the same form factor here to the right, and then to the left is the SR1000, which is a larger type radar. We can see here where we have 3 radars basically covering 360 degrees, tying into 1 cameras, and here you can see that the radar is pretty dirty. When we talked about best-in-class coverage, we can see we have no dead zone under the radar. So the radar looks, and we can see that the PTZ is actually tracking the targets to pretty much where the PTZ is located, right? And the radar is located. So really no dead zone under that pole where we're sending the PTZ to track. Low power consumptions mean that we can use solar panels as well. And again, in areas where you have no infrastructure, it's a huge advantage. This, I think, illustrates a lot of the design capabilities. So you can see on the left, the original tons of cameras around the perimeter. On the right, you can see that we had the strategically located radars with PTZs really make that, that area very usable for us. We can see that radars also work pretty well in what would be some tough environments. And this is something that you can see here. You see moving trees, you see moving leaves. A target shows up, and we would immediately jump and start following that target with, again, the PTZ cameras. Also working very well with thermal cameras. So again, that combination of radar with advanced imaging technology is something that is really changing the way people view perimeter. For those of you who are familiar with other technologies for detection, this scene would be a nightmare for any other technology. A lot of noise with that water, a lot of noise with what's going on here. and we can see here that actually we are jumping from one target on the to another. This is aqua agriculture in South America, where they actually grow fish and for mass consumption here. A lot of examples here that we have, but you can see here as well that corridor is being monitored. You can see, you can track, you can have again replacing a big amount of cameras that were around that perimeter. So what are the radars that we offer? We offer three types of radars right now, basically varying by range. The SR stands for steering radar, which means it's a radar that is not rotating. It's and looking at one location basically. The 250 meter, again about 700, 800 feet, and high resolution ground-based radar, no moving parts in it. So again, once you put it in, they very rarely break. It's a solid state device, one connection to the radar. Significant reduction in MTBF, as well as cost of ownership and cost of installation. The SR500, it's its big brother, basically same form factor, just double the range in terms of capabilities and coverage. And again, very similar spec. And some of the important things here, FCC and UL listed, does not require an FCC license to run the radar, which is a big advantage when it comes to people can deploy them very commercially wherever they want. For example, we're deployed in universities, we're deployed in areas where they did not need to go to the FCC and ask for a specific license to actually get the radar. Some of the advantages over competitors in the market: the azimuth coverage of 120 degrees is unique versus 90 or 70 others. The elevation coverage is even more unique, because the elevation coverage of 30 degrees gives you that no dead zone under the radar, which is very unique to the MAGOS product. The SR1000, again, a little bit about double the size of the SR500, but it goes out to up to a kilometer, so you can cover about 3,000 feet with one radar. Again, very strong capabilities for one device with one cable connected to it. So let's talk about the software a little bit. So the MAGOS software is really where a lot of the power lies, right? So not only it allows us to integrate to the usual suspects in the market, be it the Milestone, the Vigilon, the Genetec, all of those guys that are out there. It allows us to do all the advanced masking and geofencing. The automatic PTZ Q2 slew to Q is done through this. It also allows us to do some really other cool things that we have. So one of the examples I have here is we have done a software-to-software integration for an autonomous drone. Again, when you start thinking about wide area monitoring in areas that do not have too much infrastructure, one of our partners, be it Percepto, which is an autonomous drone, we have integrated their software into our technology as well. And now we're really bringing that integration into the robotic age, right? So once I have that threat detected, this can be over water, this can be in an area where I don't have a lot of infrastructure. The radar gets the detection. If I have a PTZ, the PTZ would zoom. But the moment the PTZ is, it's too deep for the PTZ, what I can do now through the MAS software, we're sending an event to the drone software, and we're now sending in a drone completely autonomous to start following the target. So think about it. Think about when a PTZ follows you from half a mile, you don't know. When a drone comes over your head, you definitely know that you're being targeted, right? So, and that somebody has detected you and you're getting the hell out of there. So really cool capabilities that we built in the software that now allows us to track intruders and act on intruders to make sure they do not stay in the area. Even in area where you have lack of infrastructure and you cannot install cameras and you cannot install a lot of stuff, you could put a radar on a solar device and launch a drone anytime that would make sense. So really a lot of power within those capabilities that we have here. Now, one of the things that we've seen, especially since 2018 when we started coming to the US and installing more of those commercial type applications, was that customers told us, you guys probably have the best detection tool we've seen. We don't get a lot of false alarms, but we get a lot of nuisance alarms because you guys detect anything and everything that has a heartbeat, which is can be when you start securing a lot of those substations in the middle of nowhere. That can be deer, that can be bear, that can be coyotes, that can be other things that really the guard that is 300 miles away doesn't care about. So this is when we started putting our thinking hat on and said, okay, we have the radar that we get a lot of data from, but we also usually have a visual device, which is the PTZ camera. That PTZ camera allows us to do some really cool things as well, because we're zooming on a target and we're really tracking and seeing what the target is. So with that, now we're able to combine, and we came out with a product which is called Mass AI, where we're actually taking data from the camera and running AI and machine learning on that data, and getting data from the radar, and together decide to classify those targets. Now we're not being a video analytics engine, we're being a video classification engine, where we're now taking those and saying, okay, this is an animal, this is a car, this is a person, and based on that we can decide in an educated way what do we want to alert on. So I have a clip here that shows what is Mass AI, what Mass AI does, and if we can see here, we have a target that has been detected by the radar. Once the target has been detected by the radar, we can see that it was also classified as a person here in the radar. Another target comes in, we can see that the PTZ would go in, do the magic, run the AI, and classify those targets as human, right? So it's pretty cool in terms of the way it works. In addition, if we look at this area, so this is right by our office, we can classify that person as a, this is from a camera that is actually on the roof of the building that you see at the bottom here. And we're triggering and seeing that this is a person. Now, you can say, okay, he's walking in an open field, but now let's have these two guys walk on a walkway which is right next to a busy road with trees and with different things here, and we can still see that they're being classified as people. The cars that are passing there are getting detected, but are not generating alarms because we don't care about them, right? And this is really the unique power of the classification engine inside a MAS, which we call Mass AI. That Mass AI runs on a dedicated server that has a GPU in it, and it ables to do this analysis and really get false alarm as close to zero as possible, you know. So I was talking a lot about VMS integration, and I apologize to any of the partners that are not on this. It's a moving and living document, but we have integrations with pretty much any of the leading guys that are out there. If it's Milestone, if it's Exact, if it's DVTEL, which is now FLIR, Digifort, very strong player in Latin America, Vigilon, Genetec. We also have Variant, we also have Felco, we also have some others that we work with and are integrated. Again, very cool integration that is being written. One of the examples I have here is actually with FLIR. The nice thing with FLIR, they also have some really cool thermal cameras that we can work with together. So what we see here, we have a radar that is covering about half a kilometer, about those 1,800 acres, but we created some areas of interest, and we also created some areas of ignore. And those areas right now are basically the greens here. Now, in this specific application, we also have the privilege of having a couple of PTZ cameras that are associated to one radar, so we can create zones per PTZ camera. So I can see these kayakers now are kayaking, and one PTZ is following them as they're kayaking in the area. And we can see that it's 3 targets because it's 3 different boats that are actually rowing there. Once they cross that area, a different PTZ is going to take over, and that PTZ is now going to start following those targets in that specific location. Right, so again, pretty unique integration. The MAS can reside inside the VMS. So again, given that GIS and capabilities, we can see that the operator can actually control the PTZ cameras on his own as well. So they can zoom in, they can zoom out, they can do anything that they want. So a lot of these powerful capabilities that of taking advantage of the features of the video management system, as well as the mass software and the detection capabilities of the radar. So I spoke about vertical and project, but when you think about anything that is a big perimeter, if it's a nuclear power plant, water treatment plants, reservoirs, oil refineries, substation, airports, seaports, railway yards, large parking lots, solar farms, construction sites, monitoring theft from construction sites, correctional facilities, data centers, logistical centers, and again, in some geographies, farms are a big one as well. So let's talk about some use cases of where we have installed the radar. What do we see with the radar? And this one I like because this one actually really shows the value of the radar. This is a specific application with a car lot that originally had about 40 cameras, and those 40 cameras were VMD fixed cameras, but they had tons of issues, tons of events, tons of false alarms, and eventually the guards just got tired of the system. So what we've done, we installed 4 radars looking at the same geography of the 40 cameras pretty much. So think about it, 1 radar for every 10 cameras with only 3 strategically located PTZ cameras. And what's nice here is that you see that the four radars are covering all that geography, but also you'll see that it's a large lot with a lot of metal and a lot of people walking around. And we have an event here that would probably be missed by 99% of the guards, including myself if I was a guard, but not when you actually have the mass map right here showing you the breadcrumbs of somebody starting to walk. So there is somebody walking right here, and the mass detects it, the radar detects it, the mass starting to show it. So it really makes that guard so much more efficient than just staring at 40 cameras and hoping to catch something that is going on. So we can see those tracks that the radar gives us in the mass software really allows us to identify that person right here that is walked. You can see the poles that the radars are installed on. Very effective. This specifically happened to be integrated to a Vigilant VMS. It really does not matter who the VMS. It can be Genetec, can be we're equal opportunity friends of all the VMS manufacturers out there. So this would be one case study that we have. Other one is data centers. Again, the same story. Most data centers traditionally are protected in the original way that I showed. Bunch of cameras around the perimeter, fixed view cameras just looking at the perimeter, and 4 or 5 PTZs doing that scan and go based on pretty much either guessing presets or an event from something. What we're doing today with data centers, we're significantly able to reduce that infrastructure cost of poles, of fiber, of drilling and all of those things, and just put in a couple of radars. This happens to be a pretty large data center that was designed with about 44 cameras per site. We were able to do it with about 5 radars and 10 PTZs around the perimeter. So really significant cost saving on the infrastructure cost. I think that specific customer saved about 40% of the original installation cost, not talking even about the maintenance cost and all the cost that comes later of maintaining all the switch port, all the poles, all of those applications that we have there. So again, data centers, very large market for us. Electrical utility substation, again, regulated, need to be covered, traditionally with a lot of fixed cameras around. We can see here that this specific site here, you can see 3 MAGOS radars. This happens to be the Bosch MIG cameras around it. And again, we're able to cover so much more geography with so much little infrastructure that it just makes sense. One of my customers once told me, it's basically stupid not to do it. So I'm going to use that sentence, and it's really a product that makes sense in the right application. Port, I spoke a little bit about ports. I think we have a specific case study here that is actually on video, but we can see here again the radar right here, the PTZ is scanning from above. We have a target that is being detected. This happens to be an intruder that is just coming for a petty thief, get whatever they can in terms of copper, uh, anything like that. Talked about the 30 degrees before. You can see that we are tracking this guy pretty much to the place where he's right now, the pole of the radar and the PTZ, and the guy is going to start climbing, and pretty much by the time he climbs, an event is triggered and a very, very, very loud voice would come out, and we actually he jumps off the fence, and incident averted, right? Very low false alarm rates, again, very good, very simple to install and control the system, and once the system integrator is trained, they can install those systems relatively easily around the perimeter. Airport, very similar story that we have here, but there's different application in airports, right? So we can guard the hangars for some VIP planes. You can guard the perimeter. There's a lot of things that you can do around an airport, but when you think about it, it just, again, airports are usually not in densely populated area. If we look even in New York, where we are right now, we see that you know, the airports are actually a lot of them touch water or relatively in open areas, and when we go more to less populated domains, airports is usually right out of the town in a very open field. Radars just make sense for that perimeter intrusion detection for such applications. Oil and gas, same idea that I spoke about. So again, you have those high-risk location, and some of them are actually drilling location or in very remote location where very easy to come and steal, very easy to come and take material. Radars, again, without a lot of infrastructure, without a lot of need for power, and we're just able to deploy radars in a very, very cost-effective way to basically mitigate the risks that are associated with theft and others. Another big market for us is the solar energy fields. They're most of the time located in the middle of nowhere and require tons of infrastructure to protect. A lot of them are very big. They cover a huge geography, and radars are ideal for that. Again, you put one of those 1 kilometer, or you put one of those 500-meter, and you're able to cover those huge geographies of solar panel and really protect the investment of the solar panels that are being damaged or stolen and other and they are critical infrastructure. They generate electricity. A lot of opportunity in that specific vertical. If you guys play in that vertical, I would highly recommend looking at radars as a solution, because it just makes sense. Deployable kits for construction site monitoring. Site monitoring and deployable kits, we see a lot of theft in during construction when people actually are building the buildings. There's opportunities here both on a CapEx and an OpEx opportunity. So we have partners that are actually leasing radars to construction companies for specific application on trailers. They do it during the construction, and then they can move to the next construction site. This is again, great opportunity to during construction protect the site, and then you can move while the construction is completed, just protect the perimeter. So again, a lot of really cool deployments and cool things that can be done here. Fish farms is another one, and again, I spoke a little bit about it in the movie. One of the issues that we see in this market is that thieves just come in, they cut the nets, and basically the whole crop is lost. Very challenging environments usually of ocean and storms, weather, and really other technologies just cannot handle those harsh environments. Radars are ideally developed for those type of harsh environments, and this is one of our fastest growing market in specific regions of the world right now, where radars are installed with PTZ cameras protecting those fish farms. Farm protection, I was talking a little bit about farm, but we do some farms specifically in South Africa. Again, you have a lot of those large farms that are agricultural land, vineyards and others, and some of them are lacking the infrastructure. So the ability to use solar, the ability to not require a lot of power, really allows us to utilize the infrastructure that exists and provide them with best-in-class detection and mitigation without having to trench and without having to have expensive fiber and other things just pulled to the area. Gas terminal, very similar to oil and gas. Spoke a little bit about that, but when we put it all together, I think the most important thing that we see is that it's always the same common denominator. We're seeing significant reduction of fixed view camera, the ability to integrate very high quality PTZ cameras, be it thermal, be it IR illuminated, and significant reduction in infrastructure cost allows those installation to really have proven return on investment very quick in a lot of those locations. Logistic hubs, that's a big market for us, especially now because a lot of those logistics hubs are being developed basically right outside very large cities, but they are in relatively rural areas. And we know, and unfortunately the thieves know as well, that these areas have very expensive equipment, be it tablets, phones, everything that today's vendors are selling. So these things needs to be protected, and again, because they're a lot of the time in rural areas that are open, those are usually very large warehouse facilities. Radar simply makes sense to cover a lot of that field of view and cover that area. Last but not least is actually education facilities. So this is not where I would expect and I would hear for the first time when I joined the company in early 2018 that we'll be able to sell into. But what we've learned is that a lot of the universities are actually in major urban areas, but they do have their athletic fields and all the sports fields outside somewhere. And unfortunately, there's a lot of vandalism and there's a lot of theft and a lot of people trying to steal or just sabotage some areas with for those universities. So again, taking that approach of putting a lot of cameras around that usually large athletic campuses is not economically feasible. So a lot of the universities just simply did nothing through the years. And what we're seeing now is as they discover radars, they're able with significantly less amount of radars get the coverage that is needed. So I think my idea today was to cover the basics and really give you guys the who is MAGOS, what do we do, why are we reinventing radars, how are we reinventing radars, and really introduce you to the team here at MAGOS as well as MAGOS America. And with that, again, this is our first YouTube live, hopefully one of many, and we'll dive into specific features, into specific applications, into specific things that we're doing with time. And again, I'd like to thank everybody, and if there's any questions that we have right now, I'll be happy to take them and again, answer them to the best of my ability.
So there is a question from Eugene. He states, could you show an example with trees at area of coverage radar of the radar coverage? And then he says he's had some experience with one competitor that has false positives on trees. Do you have such issue?
Yeah, so I can never say never. In terms of we have seen some issues with trees, but in the way that first for we can mask trees. I'll show some examples that I have. I'm not sure how my screen is going to work on that, but let's see. So this is actually something that from Yale University, and they have trees around the perimeter where they have actually covered. This is their bowl, but I think that shows that dives in and would show some trees as well as we move forward into this clip. But in general, in terms of so we can see here there are some trees in the area here, and this is a night. I think it moves to the day, and we'll see some detection beyond the trees as well, with eliminating the trees as. So here we can see the tree moving to the left, and we are ignoring the tree, but we are getting the targets. Again. This is it's not ironclad, and we'll very specific environments that we will look at. But we have we have applications specifically in Israel in very hilly and steep terrains. We're able to deal with the elevation changes through technology as well. And from what we hear, we're doing better than most of the competitors. But again, if the area is completely dense and you don't see anything, obviously the radar would not see as well. Do we have any other questions?
Not so far, no.
All right, guys. So again, I really appreciate the time. It's been fun. If anybody wants to reach us, basically it's I think our best email is sales@magosys.com, which is our sales box here, and we're really excited and happy about getting some of that information to you guys.
There's two more questions.
Okay, we got some new questions. Okay, first question going once.
From Eugene again, he asks, I mean, if the height of a man is the same as trees, have you ever done tests like this with trees that have the same height as a person or as a man?
If the tree is getting detected as a we'll get back to Eugene, because I think it's something that we need to get better understanding. Eugene, if you can put your email there, we'll can have a separate conversation and go through specific scenarios that you have there.
And the second question is from Alon Brown. Do you have any IFF capabilities in order to diminish alerts on permitted movements?
Yes, so basically like a blue source. Is this the famous Alon Brown? So basically, we do have an application that connects into MAST that is called our Blue Force app. It is based on a wireless device that is Android based. We have customers that are using it today. It can be loaded in the guards. So for example, in an airport, if I have the car of the guards that are going around the airport and they have that tablet in their car enabled, they will be detected, but they will be detected as a blue force. We will detect them as a blue force, and we will say, okay, we're detecting them, but they're allowed to be there, so we're not going to generate an alarm based on that application. This is a very big feature, specifically for tours around airports, around seaports, as well as substations.
Another question just came in from Daniel Hood. What is the maximum effective range of radars?
Of our radars or of radars? Because radar's maximum range is very long. Our longest range radar is 1 kilometer, which is basically about 3,000 feet. There are longer range radars in the market today. They're usually much more expensive and based on different technologies. But in terms of the steering radars that we offer the SR250, the SR500, and the SR1000, which is 250 meters, 500 meters, and 1 kilometer, which translate to about 750, 1,500 or 1,800 feet and about 3,000 feet.
Looks like that's it.
All right. Again, thank you guys very, very much. Thank you for joining us. Good morning, good evening, and good night wherever you are in this world. And thank you for taking time from your day to join us today. Really appreciate it.